then this is going to be your Tribal India portion. So Tribal India portion, see, Tribal India portion, we talked about this, right? So approximately 47% of your last year's paper, if you take a look at the entire 400 or the 28 sort of questions that are there. Tribal India is relatively simple, you know. What is the funda? There are some concepts, but apart from the concepts, you understand that the tribes had a rich heritage, they have a rich heritage, okay? They had like rich, diverse sort of a culture, but today their situation is, you know, dire, right? Their situation is quite, you know, it is a difficult sort of situation. Okay, there has been socioeconomic sort of marginalization, okay, and so on and so forth. So the idea here is that, you know, the idea, the larger sort of perspective is that, you know, they were doing really well and happy in their own sort of way of life, but the ways of life had to change because of globalization, industrialization, urbanization, and so on and so forth. Okay, culture contact especially. And in this new world, do they have the same kind of a life? Okay, is there room enough in our world, as in the outside world? Okay, you know, whatever kind of opportunities that we create, is this the kind of opportunities that they want, right? These are the kind of aspects that you would want to sort of highlight when you're writing Tribal India kind of questions. You please try to ensure that you think of yourself as a tribal. Okay, do not think of what is important to the tribal from your perspective, but think of what the tribal wants. Okay, and try to ensure that, you know, you voice their perspectives. Okay, so in your answer, without you know, specific wording, you know, that you're concerned about their issues, it should be reflected in your answer in a very implicit sort of a manner, right? It should be very evident to them that, you know, you are a person who cares. See, anthropologists now, they care a lot about the tribals, a lot of them, you know, regardless of which sort of anthropologist they are, whether it's biological and so on and so forth, doesn't matter. However, you know, they really care about the tribals, okay, and they're very passionate about those kind of the issues that sort of you know, plague the tribal societies. Now the thing is, they may not be able to sort of do a lot in India, because in the West, you also have this concept of action anthropology, meaning they do get involved to a great extent. However, in India, a lot of their contribution tends to be more in terms of applied anthropology, right? So meaning, so even if you see if there's a person somewhere in his 30s, even the 30s, 30s is relatively young for a career, especially when it comes to, academia. It's very relatively young, but even those sort of scholars, assistant professors and whatnot in universities, they will also be put into certain committees. If not like committees like Khaka at the national level, it will be in state level. It could be for a specific sort of a tribe, and they will contribute many sort of ideas to that particular group. But however, and this is something that you will hear from many of the professors, that great ideas are always there. Implementation is what sort of is left behind. So an anthropologist, when the person is evaluating your paper, they will care, right? So I don't know if I'll be able to make much of a difference, because I keep giving these recommendations to these committees, but I don't know if the government is going to act or when the government is going to act, right? So that is what the anthropologist is thinking. But when they feel like they have the power, you understand this thing, they have the power to sort of, not exactly power, it's not they're misusing the power, but they have that ability to take somebody and reward somebody who has the same kind of a perspective when it comes to the tribal issues. That way, even if they are not able to do it, they get some sort of vicarious pleasure in getting you to be able to deliver that. So you ensure that you are in sync with the tribes and with the anthropological viewpoints. Apart from this, another thing that I would also say is that where possible, you can add some case studies. Always helpful, always helpful. Okay, you can use some statistics. For instance, what is a tribal the health kind of this one. Okay, there are many stats that are available, right? So NFHS data would be there. It could be Poshan Abhiyan related data. What is their stunting, wasting, underweight, anemia, these kind of stats. I think that could also possibly help you to a great extent, right? To collect some case studies. I mean, every single day you see articles that basically give you some perspective, substantiate the nature, the quantity of the problem, right? The magnitude of the issue is always sort of highlighted when you can use some statistics. Again, don't become too mechanical that you dump your paper with too many stats. Okay, stats to a certain extent will help. Too many stats will basically take away that issue, right? That reflection of your concern, right? That will go away. It will become a little more mechanical. It will become a little more monotonous. So be wise, and use it in just balance. Okay, so just have some balance. So when you're talking about the tribals, try to incorporate some of the ideas from Kaka, right? So I'm sure that you must have gone through these things. Okay, the most recent sort of recommendation that has been provided from anthropologists is this Kaka committee. So it was 2014, 2015, that time period, but it is still quite valid. Okay, there is also a recent Yojana edition, which is July 2022. Okay, there was also Jan 2014. These are some of these. Okay, so here also you have education, you have health. Okay, you have Apevang committee. Okay, on tribal health issues. Okay, so just try to take a look at this thing and then try to see if you can, extract a point or two, something that sort of catches your fancy so that you can use it. Okay, it'll be easy for you to remember. So it really depends on what you want to extract. What is it that you find interesting? Okay, so just try to take a couple of those things and try to sort of pepper it into your paper, especially in the tribal India portion. Okay, don't force feed it, but just try to see where it will be sort of apt and then try to go ahead and do it. A lot of times what we do is, and I've seen this amongst many students as well, is that humne, like if you have studied it, you feel like somehow I want to sort of introduce it. Okay, try to sort of not do that. Okay, there are so many things that you would have done. The answer what they're looking for is something to the question that they have asked. If you believe that you can possibly add that properly, and address the particular question to the best of your ability there, that is more useful than giving everything that you have studied, because what you have studied need not be something that is very, very useful for a particular question. You can tweak it and try to employ it, but it doesn't mean that everything like everything that you have studied, let's incorporate it with that paper, just somehow sort of introduce it into your paper. That may sort of backfire. Okay, but there will be some aspects that can be used in a general sense, right? So keep that also in mind. See, generally, one more thing, right? So what I see is, and I think that you guys will agree with this as well. So you always have, many of you feel like you have a strength already. And to a certain extent, I think you might have a plan already. I'm going to attempt sociocultural anthropology in paper one, and I'm going to do something else in paper two. Or it could be that I'm going to attempt most of biological anthropology kind of questions in paper one, and I'm going to attempt tribal India in paper two. So you understand, so you have some sort of a plan already because you already feel like you have certain strengths. Okay. What I have actually noticed is that 8, 7, 8, 9 really, really good answers, like out of the world. Okay, more than 150 words, 250 words, 350, and you've done really, really well. But some of you, what happens is that if you see the next 19, next 10 questions become a little average kind. And that is not because you're not good at it, it is because you're running out of time. So don't get attached to any one question. Don't get attached to your favorite section. Okay, most of us are guilty of this thing, right? So you find a favorite section and then you go to town with it, and you have fun with it, and then you notice that when by the time you come to the other sections, you're really pressed for time and you're going against the clock, right? So do not get attached to any of your favorite section. Bulky favorite section may try to save time, because in these sections it is your favorite because you're very strong, right? So try to in your favorite section, try to save time. So in case you can save like 30 seconds per question, it will give you a little more time in order to be able to handle the other questions a little better. It will give you a little more of a cushion. So your target could be, instead of just having 8 to 9 excellent answers and then have like next 10 answers to be average, you try to see if you can actually provide 14, 15. Okay, 14 is good, 14, 15 sort of good questions, right? 14, 15 a decent answers, above average sort of answers, but from both. So it has to be from biology, it has to be from archaeology, it has to be from fossils, it has to be from your sociocultural anthropology. Do not show that you have any sort of weakness nahi hoga. I mean, you basically don't show your weakness. Okay, but there will be some questions in which you have to sort of that is something, there's nothing you can do, right? Any good paper will have certain questions that are going to be easy, moderate, and hard, and they will give you, regardless of the 28 questions, there are going to be questions in which you will be forced to write something that you have never seen before, right? But that requires presence of mind. So get a good amount of sleep. Okay, when you get good amount of sleep, when you close your mind, you will still be generating ideas. Sometimes if you close your eyes, there is nothing, it becomes blank. Okay, so you want to avoid that. So the strategy would be, rather than 8 to 9 great answers and then others average, I would just say keep 13 to 15 relatively better answers. Okay, not out of the world kind of answers, but good answers. Show that in every one of these sections you can compete adequately, right? And the rest of it you just try to craft using the kind of knowledge that you possess at that particular time period. Okay, but just go in with a certain amount of sleep and be very relaxed, so that you will be able to generate some points, some relevant points for that particular portion.